Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Basics of Excel Session 1. TechBridge breaks the cycle of generational poverty through the innovative use of technology to transform nonprofit and community impact. We work in 4 pillars: hunger relief, homeless support, social justice, and workforce development. In our workforce development pillar, we're really aiming to close the digital equity gap with training and employment, which brings me to all of you today. So just a couple introductions. Our CEO of TechBridge is Nicole Armstrong. Our Chief Program Officer is Julie Nooner. Our Chief of Staff is Jahari Sword. The Program Manager for our HBCU initiative is Stephen Soden. Miles V is our Permanent Teaching Assistant. And then I am Shelby Schuler-Sue. I am the Program Manager of our adult program, and I'll be acting as your instructor today. On the JP Morgan Chase team, these are the individuals that have made all of this possible. It's our partnership with JP Morgan Chase that allows TechBridge to come to you and bring you this Excel training. So we have Trey Coleman, who is the Vice President of Firm-wide University Relations, and Charnel Del Mohammed, the Vice President of HBCU Relations. Today, we are going to get an overview of Excel. We'll learn about how to manage workbooks and worksheets, data cells and ranges, and perform a couple of operations using formulas and functions. So really what we're doing today is building the foundation that you can use as we move into some more advanced Excel topics. So the first question you may be asking is, what is Excel? What does it do? And why do I care about it? So think to yourself, do you know what Microsoft Excel is? Microsoft Excel is a computer program used to create, store, analyze, and present quantitative data in an organized and easily updated manner. It can be used for a wide variety of situations, including crunching numbers, creating charts, organizing lists, manipulating text, accessing data, creating graphical dashboards, one of my favorites, creating graphics and diagrams, and automating complex tasks. So we've seen Excel, hopefully. We know that we have this, grid of lines, and then maybe you've used it before and maybe you haven't. But before we delve into the ins and outs of what Excel is and what it does, let's just talk for a little bit about why it's important. So I'm going to go through several reasons why it's important, several careers that may use Excel, as well as several times in your day-to-day life you might use Excel. So before we go, take a couple of seconds to think to yourself, pause the video if you need to. Why is Excel important? So first off, it helps to improve efficiency and productivity. Allows us to keep everything in one place, very organized. It helps to illustrate ideas in a professional way. Instead of having handmade charts or tables, it's in this easy to use format. Makes you better at organizing data. In order to really use the functionality of Excel, things need to be organized in a certain way. If you're on a team in a job or an internship, it would take stress off of your support team because everything is easily and readily accessible. It can make your job easier. You can use Excel to automate tasks that would normally take a while if you were doing them by hand. It allows you to better use an asset that you've already required, which is experience. So it kind of takes, trying to keep paper straight and trying to keep track of everything, and it puts it in one place and allows you to use your experience to really drive your job or your internship or whatever you're doing. It allows you to communicate in one of the most important languages of business, which is data. It allows you to share ideas with little expense and effort. And it can help you to be identified as indispensable when presenting business development ideas. You could have 2 employees presenting the same data, one using Excel and one just trying to muddle through with, a PowerPoint presentation without backing it up in Excel. And the employee using Excel is going to be seen as more competent, more efficient, and more effective. Knowledge is power. So the more we know about Excel, the more we can use it and the more we can make ourselves more efficient and productive. So here are some professions that use Excel on pretty much a daily basis: accountants, auditors, educators, entrepreneurs, investment bankers, construction managers or cost estimators, analysts, whether those be business, data, or financial, marketing and sales, project management, and administrative assistants. Really, beyond these, you can incorporate Excel in almost any profession. It's just a matter of, how critical is that to your job? And in your daily life, you might also use Excel for daily progress reporting, goal setting and planning, data analysis, budgeting and saving. This is a big one that a lot of people use Excel for, and business planning. So hopefully you can see kind of the beginnings of the power of Excel and how it can really underlie really everything you do, whether that be in your personal life or in your professional life. So let's jump in. Let's get started. Whether you have experience in Excel or not, this is going to help to level set the playing field and make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to vocabulary and some simple commands. We'll learn the different parts of the Excel window, understand the use of spreadsheets, learn to navigate between worksheets, create and save, enter, analyze, and present qualitative data, and then enter text, numbers, and dates. So the first thing is I just want you to take a couple of seconds to take this in. It's pointing out all of the different features of the Excel window, where to find everything. Your window may look slightly different depending on whether you're using a PC or a Mac and which version of Excel you have, but the basic premise and the basic location of things remains the same. So feel free to take a screenshot of this if you'd like, so that you have it as kind of a reference cheat sheet. So we're going to go through a couple of kind of really key terms. The first is that the work that we do in Excel is in a workbook. So think about maybe way back to when you're in elementary school and in math class, reading class, you've got a workbook. And inside of that workbook were worksheets that you could tear out and turn into your teacher. An Excel workbook is the same. So the entire file itself, that's called the workbook. And the workbook contains one or more worksheets. And then the worksheet consists of individual cells. So my file is my workbook. Down here across the bottom in what we call our, right above our status bar is our sheet tab. We have all of our different sheets that we have created. And on each sheet, we have cells. The cells are named by a column letter and a row number. So when you're looking at your Excel sheet, you should see across the top, you have letters. Those are the column letters. And across the rows, you have numbers. Those are the row numbers. So at any given time, you have an active cell that's outlined in dark green here. And that has a location, just like you're located somewhere, the active cell is located somewhere. So kind of like an XY plane, we call this C5. So we say the column number first and the row, or the column letter first and the row number second. Cells can contain numbers, formulas, or text. So we can see on our budget sheet here, we have some text, we have some dates, we have numbers, which are formatted as currency. We don't have any formulas yet, but we'll get there. Worksheets also have an invisible drawing layer, which holds charts, images, and diagrams. And this is really where I love Excel, and that it really helps you with visualizing your data. So they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So Excel helps you create that visualization to really drive the impact of your data. And we have that active cell, as I mentioned, indicated by the dark green outline. One really cool feature is the name box. So if we look on our workbook, below what we'll come to know as our ribbon, there's a box on the left-hand side that's called the name box. And this name box displays the active cell address at any given time. So you can look here and you could know exactly where that active cell is. So right now my active cell is B8, and let's check B8 indeed. Okay, so maybe you're not sure where your cursor is, you can't find it. You can always look in your name box and it will tell you exactly where you are on the worksheet. As I mentioned just a moment ago, this area up at the top that contains all of the buttons and the settings that you use, that's called the ribbon. And the ribbon is a collection of icons at the top of the screen that replaced some more traditional menus and toolbars. So a long time ago in the early iterations of Excel, it was just, file, and you had to go up into edit, and then you had to find the paste in a drop-down menu. So Microsoft said, let's make this a little bit more user-friendly. Let's create icons and let's put them on the ribbon so they're easily accessible. On our ribbon, we have a couple of words up here. These are called the tabs. So we have a home tab, insert tab, a page layout tab, formulas, data, and review. And depending on, what settings you have, you may have more tabs or less tabs. But the three main parts of the ribbon are those tabs, groups. So let's go to our home tab. We can see we have the clipboard group. And if I make my window a little larger, we have the font group, the alignment group, the styles group. And depending on how big or small your window is, these groups may get compressed into a drop-down menu. So this is the number group. There's that alignment group. And then within each group, we have commands. So these are the actual buttons that we would press: bold, fill in with a color. If you're on a PC or on Microsoft Excel Online, you also have this File tab on the top left. I'm on a Mac, so I don't have it. But if we look at our ribbon here, it's right to the left of Home if you're on a PC. It says File. And this is where you can open a new workbook. You can open an existing document, save a copy of your document, and print. If you're on a Mac, you do have a file area. It's just up on your menu bar. So if you come up where the Apple symbol is, you'll see Excel, and then you'll see File, and there's where all of your commands are: new, open, save as, print. It's all there. So a little bit of a difference between Macs and PCs depending on which machine you're using. Regardless, though, there are keyboard shortcuts that you can always use. And a lot of people will say that you don't really know Excel until you're comfortable using those keyboard shortcuts. So as we go through, I'm going to explain how to do things with your mouse, but I may also kind of let you know those keyboard shortcuts so that you can start getting comfortable. All right, so we've got a basic lay of the land. Now take a second to reflect. Did you learn anything new? Was that a review for you? We're going to jump right into our next section, which is cells and formatting. So one of the most fundamental things that you can do with your cells is, besides typing in them, is copying and pasting. So copying and pasting in Excel works much like it would in Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint, except instead of selecting specific text, we can copy and paste the entire cell. So to copy and paste, we're going to select the cell or cells we wish to copy, click the copy command in the clipboard group on the Home tab, or we can use our handy keyboard shortcut, which is Control-C. That will work on Mac as well, or you can use Command-C. We'll select the cell or cells where we want to paste the information, and then we'll click the paste command in the clipboard group or press Control-V. So let's copy and paste the rent expense from September to October on our worksheet. So we'll come over here to our worksheet, our budget worksheet. We have our rent expense from September. It's in cell B5, and we want to copy it to cell C5. So I've clicked in B5. I can either come up to my ribbon to the copy command and click that, or I can press Command or Control-C. Once you do that, you get this moving outline around the box. That lets you know that you've copied it or cut it. So now, and I can also use my keyboard to move around, right? You can use your arrow keys. So either arrow to the right or click on the cell to the right. Now our active cell is C5, and now I can paste. So I can either click that paste button in the clipboard group on the Home tab, or I can use my keyboard shortcuts, Command or Control V. So now we can see we have 800 in October as well. If I wanted to copy a group of cells, I could do that as well. So let's say I want to copy all of these expenses. So I've selected from B5 all the way to B8. You can see that they're colored in this dark gray. So now if I copy or press Control C, I have that outline around those 4 cells. I can click in cell C5 and paste, and it will paste all of those values. So this is very helpful. You can copy and paste one cell at a time or multiple cells at a time. So just kind of walking through. If you have access to this deck later, you can kind of have a reminder of how we do it. We can also cut and paste. So copy and paste leaves the original cells where they are and just copies them. What cut does is it removes it from the original cell and pastes it into the cell where you want it to be. So it works pretty much the same way, except instead of using the copy command on our ribbon, we are going to use the cut command, which looks like a pair of scissors. You can also use your keyboard shortcut, which is Control or Command X. So we should cut and paste the salon/barber expense from September to October. So maybe we were going to go to the barber in September, but we decided it could wait till October. So if at any point you want this to go away from earlier, just press the Escape key on your keyboard and it will no longer be selected. So let's click on cell B18. That's where salon barber is. This time we're going to cut. So on your Home tab in a clipboard group, you can either click on the scissors for cut, or you can use your keyboard Control or Command, which is Command X or Control X. So now we need to move it to October. So I can either use my mouse or use my arrow keys, go to cell C18 and paste it there, either using the button, the command on your ribbon, or with your keyboard shortcuts, Control or Command V. So notice that cut moves it. It's no longer in B18. Instead, that $50 is in C18. So we can cut, we can copy, we can paste. Some other things that we can do inside of individual or groups of cells is we can format the text. So I want you to pause the video for a second, take a minute, think about what ways you can format text. Hopefully you've gotten some of these. The first is that we can format text in bold, italics, or underline. So we're going to click on a cell to select it, and then we can use the buttons in the font group of our Home tab on our ribbon, or we can use our keyboard shortcuts. For bold, it's Control or Command B. For italics, it's Control or Command I. For underline, it's Control or Command U. So let's try that. Right now we have expenses. This entire row is in bold. So let's go ahead and select from cell A4 to E4. And let's unbold it just so that we can see what it looks like. So you can either click the bold, the B button on the font group of your Home tab, or you can use your keyboard shortcut, Control or Command B. Now it's no longer bold. You can do that again. Now it's bold. We can use italics, which is Control I. We can use underlines, which is Control U. So when you're formatting your worksheets, it's really up to you how you format, but you want to make sure that everything is clear to your audience. So using these formats can help to kind of highlight your data. We can also change the font style. So we can change from Calibri to Times New Roman, or whatever font you want. Again, try not to use too many crazy fonts depending on what your purpose is. We can click on any cell or group of cells. We can change the font. We can change the size. You can use either these increase and decrease font size buttons, or you can select the button and you can change the font color as well. A quick tip, if you want to undo, you can either use this button up here on your quick access toolbar, or you can press Control or Command Z. So I'm going to press that a couple times to get back to where I started. There we go. Changing the font size. You can also add a border to a cell or group of cells. So to do that, we're going to select the cell or cells we want to format and click the drop-down arrow next to the Borders command on the Home tab. So let's say I want to put a border around these, again, these 5 cells. So I'll select them. In the font group, you should see a drop-down underneath font style. If we click that drop-down, there's a lot of different options. So we can choose to just have a bottom border, top, all borders. If you want a thick box border, so maybe I want just a bottom border to kind of create a separation there. Oh, and I have it set so that it's a double line. To change that, you can change the line style. So I can change it back to original. There we go. So there are a lot of different borders you can use. Just make sure, again, that you're kind of drawing attention to what you want to draw attention to. So there's that drop down a little bit bigger so that you can see it. If you want to create, thicker lines or change the color of your border lines, you can definitely do so using these options down here, line color and line style. In Excel, as you explore, you'll see that there are a lot of options and a lot of different ways to do things. It really comes down to you exploring and finding what you're most comfortable with. We can change the text color. We can add a fill color. So in that same font group, we can fill with a certain color. So now those cells are colored gray. Color them whatever color you want. So that's what that dropdown looks like. And that's what that dropdown looks like, a little bit larger for you to see. And those are, again, in the font group of your Home tab on the ribbon. All right, so we've done a lot of editing of individual cells. What happens if I'm working with my spreadsheet, my worksheet, and I want to insert a row? Maybe I forgot something or I want to format things a little bit differently. It's really easy to insert a new row or a new column. So to insert a row, we'll select the row below where we want the new row to appear. We'll click the Insert command in the Cells group on the Home tab, and then the row will appear. Okay, so let's insert a row above the months. So up at the top here, let's insert a row. So I'm going to select row 1. And there are actually 2 ways to do this. I'll show you both. On our Home tab, there is a Cells group. And in that Cells group, there's an Insert button. And we can insert sheet rows. There we go. Now we've got a blank row above. So again, I clicked on the entire row. I went to the Cells group and clicked the Insert button. You can press it multiple times to get multiple rows. And I'm going to press Control Z to get rid of those. All right. The other option is to right-click the row, and you can insert right from there. Insert. Same thing. So again, it comes down to your personal preference. Which way would you prefer? So there's that insert group. You can insert sheet rows. Hopefully you can see there, we can also insert sheet columns. So now we're going to select the column to the right of where we want the new column to appear. And then we'll use that same insert command. So let's insert a column to the left of the current column A. So here's column A. I'll select it. I'll go to my Cells group and I'll click the Insert command. So now I have a new column A. It inserted a blank column to the left of my data that I had before. You can also right click the column itself. So I'm right clicking column A, and again, I can use that insert command there. So one of the really cool things about Excel, I know we talked about copying and pasting a little bit earlier, but we have something in Excel called the fill handle. So when you click on any active cell, you of course have that dark green outline, but you should also see a tiny black square in the bottom right-hand corner of the cell. That's called the fill handle. When we move our mouse over the fill handle, our cursor changes from this white kind of cross to a black cross. If we have just one cell collected, we can click and drag to fill down a column or across a row. Excel will copy that number or text to each of the other cells. So let's see how that works. So earlier I copied this $800 into October. But if I just click this fill handle and I drag it to the right, it automatically copies and pastes it into my other cells where I've clicked and dragged. I can also do that with this group of cells. I can click and drag to the right. That's a nice fast way to copy paste. If we have two cells selected, Excel will fill in a series. It will complete a pattern. So for example, if I had 4 and 8 in a row together here, Excel would continue the pattern if I filled. So let's kind of come off to the right here and let's try that. So 4, 8. Oh, it didn't like what I did. Let's scroll down and do it down here instead. So 4, 8. So I just put a 4 in cell A28 and an 8 in cell A29. I'm going to select both of them. So I just clicked and dragged so that I had both A28 and A29 selected. I'll click the fill handle and I'll drag it down, and it's continued the pattern. 4, 8, 12, so it's adding 4 every time. Sometimes you may not want that to happen. So you would have to, maybe you just wanted 8s to go down. So you would want to just click and drag the 8. Okay, so if something, just check when you're using that fill handle and make sure that Excel is doing what you want it to do. Excel can also autofill a series of dates, times, days of the week, months, etc. So if we scroll back up and we go to our months that we have here, we have September 21, October 21, November, and December 21. If I select this range, so I've selected C2 to F2, if I click it and drag that fill handle to the right, it will continue going up 1 month at a time. There we go. I don't have to type in January 22. Excel just knows that I'm going up by 1 month, and so it will continue that pattern. And I can do the same for my expenses. So all of these tools can be used to create, well, we're using a budget today, and this is something that you can immediately start implementing. In our next session, we'll talk a little bit more about how to, create sums so that you can see your total spending, your average spending, all of that. But for our last piece today, we're going to take a look at page layout and printing. So it may be that you want to have a hard copy of your budget or your report or whatever it is that you're doing. So the best way to print your worksheet is, first we need to make sure that the print preview is going to be good, that it's going to capture everything we need it to capture. So on the status bar at the bottom of your worksheet, near the zoom commands, you should see this icon right here. It looks like a square with 2 rectangles in the top left corner. If you click that, it'll pull up your page layout view. So let's do that right now. It's right down here next to the zoom commands. If I click it, it automatically changes my view. So right now, there we go. I scrolled over to the left just a little bit. It's showing me what's on page 1, and this dotted line is showing me everything that's on page 2. So this is a problem, right? I want all of this to be on one page. So all you have to do is click and drag those boundaries, and it will change it for you. Maybe I don't care about page 2, so I'll get rid of it. Maybe I don't care about, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. Maybe I don't care about these 4s and 8s that I put in, so I can drag this up. So this allows you to control how much is printing on how many pages it's printing. You can also go to the page layout tab of your ribbon and use the page setup command. So on your ribbon, we find the page layout. We can use the page setup command, where that first one is the print area. So let's say I'm not using this, but I know that I want to print from B2 all the way down to B24. And I want to go, whoops, use that fill handle. Be careful. So I'm just kind of selecting all the area that I want to use right now. So here we go. All right, if we click that page setup, it's showing me that it's going to print from B2 to K25. And it's got it outlined in that dotted border. So you can change it. Maybe I only want it to print to J25. Okay, you can also click this little button right here, and it will allow you to select from there what you want to print. All right, so then when you either go to your File tab or your File button on your menu and click Print, it'll print exactly what you wanted to print here. So really the only way to get good at Excel is to practice. So I encourage you to take this budget sheet, edit it, change it for your own purposes, and try and use it and try and, input some of your expenses and just kind of get used to working in Excel, navigating. Next session, like I said, we'll go through some functions, some ways to make this a little bit more powerful and a little bit more robust. Thanks for your attention and have a great day.